You've been in several courtrooms as expert witness. What is that like?
Even if they're yelling in your face, you have to understand that they're just trying to get a gain out of you.
So how do you not let things rile you up in court?
Imagine the worst thing you would ever think to be on a device, a computer, a cell phone, anything, like the deepest, darkest things. I've been there, seen it all. It's pretty horrific. But we have to go through that data because we have to. You know, that is the justice system. Hi, I'm Donovan Farrow, and you're listening to Tech Legacies Podcast.
Today, I am joined by Donovan Farrow, and we're going to talk all around his career in cybersecurity.
Okay.
What got you into that? It's not something that, when I grow up, I want to be in cybersecurity. Or was that your story?
Yeah, so I appreciate that because you're saying I look younger than I do, so appreciate the compliment. So back in the day, my big story is, everyone's like, I really wanted to go to college and do all this stuff, and I did a lot of research, and I want to be the cybersecurity person. What it really was is I wanted to download music for free, and I was really poor, so I just had to mow lawns. So I mowed lawns to buy pieces of computers to put them in a computer. I was like, oh, it does weird beeping noise when I don't have memory, or I don't have a power supply, it doesn't turn on. So that's kind of where it started. It's kind of a hilarious story, but it wasn't, cybersecurity wasn't even a thing. It was more just like, what is a computer? What is the internet? Back in, the America Online Instant Messenger or Cheetah Chat. I'm going to see people know exactly how old I am now. I'm throwing that out there. ICQ.
I'm right up there with you.
So ICQ, stuff like that, and just I wanted to build something. What I realized when I built a computer, it actually kind of almost leveled the playing field for almost the world. It's changed over time, but the opportunity, the intelligence you could gather, and just the reach that I learned through that, making servers and running mud servers, which people know that is super old. But anyway, I dated myself, but thank you.
So from that to owning your business now, what were some of those tough lessons you learned along the way?
Man, some of those tough lessons. I could probably write a few books as yourself, I'm sure. Tough lessons off the top of your head. This may sound silly and generic, is the way I built my business is you don't need money to start a business. Everyone thinks that you need investors and stuff like that. And that's what I was told, that I need to have, angel investor or something. What I realized over time, even going through big corporations and everyone's telling me to invest in 401k and stocks and stuff like that, the best investment I ever made was myself. I know what I'm going to do with that extra money. I know what I'm going to do with that extra time. And I know if that I'm abusing that or not taking advantage of the gift I've given myself. Because time has value and money. And people think that everyone wants a quick hit for victory. Everyone will always see the victories, but they don't see all the struggles you went through to get there. And I'll give a quick little analogy because you'll appreciate this. So when I was doing, I worked at a company, and this is the whole other story where Alias started. And I said, hey, can I do this on the side? And she said, no, I'll fire you. And I was like, oh, I would never do that. I would never do a company on the side. So the name Alias, I made a shell company that owned a shell company. That was me. Hence the name Alias.
Got it.
Right? And I worked so hard to get that because I wanted something bigger and also to help people. Is at lunch I would change in my vehicle in the parking lot into a suit so I could go testify at lunch and then come back and change back into my other clothes. So I mean that's worth a lot of money in itself. That time and that effort and that stress where I could get caught, I could be fired. People don't really want to. It's a risk, but there's no successful person that hasn't taken a gigantic risk.
And where do you get that drive from to take those risks and to go into something that's unknown?
Yes, I just think that's how I was brought up. I don't know. That's a pretty deep question. It's like survivalism, right? It's never good enough. You just got to keep moving up, and it is risky. I could lose everything. I could go bankrupt tomorrow. I mean, it's a reality for every business owner. Whatever. You see them, they're all like me on this. Maybe I look really good today. I don't know. Maybe I don't. I look tired. But if I don't do it and if I don't take the chance, why even risk it? Because big risk comes big reward. But if you don't control your future, but you can control the way you respond to situations. What's it like being an adult? It's about getting kicked in the face every day. After a while, you're like, yeah, that hurts, fine. But it's how you're like, okay, I can't control this, but I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do that. And having those other options that you do have control in, that's what will make you successful, and how to get away from the fear of something bad happening to you, or you're losing all your money. Because really, at the end of the day, I got 4 kids, and I'll still have my kids. They're not going to dislike dad anymore. If dad isn't, whatever CEO for whatever company, they don't care about that. They want to go fishing,
Yeah.
And I think people forget that. It is easy to say in this moment, but that's kind of what I always, that's my base.
Got it.
Why are you here? Why do you exist? Why are you even doing this? And your base can never change. My kids will always like me because I hang out with my kids.
So being in cybersecurity, I'm always curious, because you see it all, you see the threats, you see the dangers. What are you most afraid of?
Okay, so I love this question. It's only been asked once recently, and I was thinking, I was like, oh man, I was actually doing a meeting with FBI, which apparently I did a good speech, and they told me I said everything correctly. I was like, am I missing something? So I felt good. I felt like I knew what I was talking about, and I was like, how about some AI ransomware? How about an AI, flavor goes rogue and makes its own cloud environment, and it just starts attacking the planet Earth. There you go.
Is that possible?
I believe it. I believe this AI 4, I don't know.
ChatGPT 4?
Oh my gosh. So it has so much intellectual power where it can make its own world.
Yeah.
And if just, again, I would say this. I'm saying this, it hasn't brought up, but there was a newsletter that they used ChatGPT, or one of the voice things that this lady thought that her daughter was kidnapped. It's crazy. And they had the same voice, same everything, and it was a ransomware call, but it was fake.
Oh my.
Yeah, so I'm thinking people using AI to manipulate and use it to attack. Because let's say that I made my own, again, I'm not an AI person, I don't know too much, but I know what it is, but I'm not a coder guy. But if I use that technology, and I was kind of back here and you didn't know who I was, I'm just the dev guy, but I use my AI person thing to attack whatever, and to facilitate ransomware, and to facilitate conversations, and to manipulate and get people money. That's where I think it's going to go. For the record, I was one of the first ones to break into a voting machine back in 2016 at DEF CON, and I said, oh, this is going to change everything. Because when I got into it, it was in the Iowa News a long time ago, and I was like, what is this? So I found a network cable. I was able to plug into it. I was like, oh, this is connected network. This is going to change everything, which there's been a lot about that, whether it doesn't matter. It totally happens. And then secondly, my other thing was, you're going to see people, this was in 2018, I said, watch for people to start making mock videos of people in politics saying stuff they didn't actually say.
That scares me.
I'm just letting you know,
Yes.
I'm hopeful that I'm wrong, but I'm pretty right recently. So
then, Donovan, the whole premise of security is to be cautious, to look at all the angles. So how do you think we as a society can balance between security and cautiousness versus innovation and risk-taking? Is there...
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I always tell people all the time is, what do you expose yourself to? Recognize that technology is for good. It is meant to make our lives easier. It's meant to make our lives a little more calm and organized. But do you really need to know if you have ketchup in your refrigerator? Is that important? Is that something you think about?
Right.
Do you really need to have your doggy cam so you can log in to it on a video conference and talk to your animal? Maybe you do, but I'm just saying, what did you expose yourself to? Even I do have, my vehicle is mostly electronic, which it kind of bothers me. And I just think about whatever you give to a certain location. Let's say that Teslas, for example, I'm not going to talk anything about that, but let's know about an exploit they have. But if I was able to get into Tesla, I could control a ton of vehicles. I could make them all crash, right? So what they're doing is this technology's out here leading, just as technology always does, and they're like, oh crap, something bad happened. We got to go back and fix that. So just be careful what you expose yourself to the internet, because even today, people still, they don't do updates. They have open a remote desktop. What do you think they do or not? They totally do, and everyone on the internet can see that. And even even the FBI had a leak where they recently, or was a DOJ, they had a leak in an AWS cloud because they didn't have it protected. right? So they put it in the cloud for more access, quick processing, but they left it open and someone stole it. So it's like, what are you exposing yourself to, and do you actually need that? Even like ovens, that cracks me up. I mean,
questioning ourselves.
Yeah, right? So
like
I'm
that.
pretty low tech. I love this story. I recently sold my house, and a lady goes, she's like, hey, what was the PIN code on the door? I was like, oh no, that doesn't work. Just use a key. She's like, what? She's like, you're like a tech guy. I was like, oh yeah, I would never ever put a code on that. I said, honestly, once I installed it, I figured out how I could just like brute force it. So I don't have it. I was like, it's a key lock. It's a fake. I was like, so
Go back to
yes,
brute security.
That's right. So I trust nothing until, I have a cell phone and stuff like that. But it's what you really expose yourself to. And I think people aren't aware of the things that they put on their phones, the things they put in their house, and they don't think that other people can get access to that, and that's not true.
So Donovan, you've been in several courtrooms as expert witness.
Yeah.
Right? What is that like, and what can people learn? What have you learned from that experience in being basically like drilled by the opposite, the opposition, or what has that taught you being an expert witness?
So one thing that is, first of all, I hate it, but it's necessary. I don't like it. It's a lot of nervy because, I'm like a nerd. I try to have fun, try to be a funny guy, and you can't be that funny guy on the stand. So it's like learning, you got to be stoic. You got to learn stoicism. So that's a whole other topic to talk about, which is great. It's a good technique.
Stoicism 101.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to pause real quick here and give a special shout out to one of our sponsors, CG Infinity. I've worked with them for several years now, and I can truly say that they have one of the best workplace cultures that I've ever experienced. And they specialize in a variety of industries, especially energy, utilities, and financial services. And they serve them through their Salesforce, cloud, as well as customer experience services. So thank you, CG Infinity, and I hope you'll support them as they have supported us here at the podcast.
And not getting emotional about whatever's happening, even if they're yelling in your face, you have to understand that they're just trying to get a gain out of you. One of my favorite quotes, like I made it, I did, I guess, I don't know. People talk about testifying is, I don't really care about the plaintiff, the defense, the judge, the jury. I'm here as an advocate for the data. The best witness in a case is the data. Has no bias, has no emotions, and I'm there as a arbitrator for the data. Here's what the data told me. If you want my opinion, I can give you an opinion. I say that all the time. But as a certified expert witness, I can tell you what the data is telling me and what happened at this specific time.
Don't we get interpretation of data wrong sometimes?
Yes, and that would be, so that is an opinion. So when I, even if I am going against another forensic examiner, the judge will usually make us meet minds if we're on different pages, and then and if we don't come out in agreement, the judge will be pretty upset. Because the data is the data. And most judges realize that. Not all, but that's just having a tech judge. That how the data can be presented, but then you have the attorneys stirring the pot and not allowing all the data to be presented. Right? So then it can skew what is presented because of, this person clearly didn't kill this person because we looked at their computer, it was 100% clean. I agree with that, but their cell phone literally said, I'm going to kill this person. Well, that cell phone has been dismissed as evidence. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so that happens. That does happen. So it's kind of weird.
How do you take emotions out of it? We're all, no matter how techie we are, we get riled up.
Yeah.
We feel things, we react to things. So how do you not let things rile you up in court? Yeah,
and I think it's kind of I always laugh, I always call, when I talk to people, sometimes I'm like, self-proclaimed robot here. Let me try to address this. So I'm naturally kind of not. I'm a very good excited. I like to have fun, but I'm not a very emotional person when it comes to stuff like that. Because it is. You have to really kind of check out. Because imagine the worst thing you would ever think to be on a device, a computer, a cell phone, anything like the deepest, darkest things. I've been there, seen it all. It's pretty horrific. So there are some people in the industry that go to therapy because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's pretty wicked. There's some wicked stuff. Because, you're talking about like pedophiles, murderers, arsonists, just the most horrendous stuff. And we have to go through that data because we have to. That is the justice system. But sometimes, we're all humans. Sometimes law enforcement makes mistakes. And it takes people like my group to be there for that, doing forensics and cybersecurity, depending on what exactly occurred. It always has a good set of eyes on the other side.
So how do you maintain optimism and faith in humanity, having seen the ugly side of it?
Wow, faith in humanity, that's a good one. Just kidding.
Or optimism. Then.
Yeah, no, how about this? I'll tell you that maybe I get a ton of that talking about training young people that want to be in cybersecurity. When I got into cybersecurity, it didn't even really exist. I just kind of like, I guess I'm in cybersecurity. I don't even know what this is. It's not a real job. So I think me pushing in and helping people learn and grow is awesome, and getting even high school students and college students prepared for the world that they're getting into is pretty exciting, because it's me, Donovan, making like Noah's Ark out here, telling them a flood's going to happen for like years. I'm like, no, man, ransomware is like hacking. It's going to be crazy. And then no one's listening, because no one pays for it. Nobody knows what that is, right?
Right.
But now it's in a normal dialogue. Common people know what ransomware is, which is a great start. Because I say it's one
we
of
all
our,
get corporate trainings on it.
Yeah. I was saying about 3 years ago, I was like, man, I got a new marketing team. They're like, what? I was like, it's called the news. Man, the news is just like ransomware. Scary. They paid millions of dollars. And I was like, that's where. So the fact that it's coming to a norm, I feel like even coders, as we start building new technology, they're going to be like, oh, I learned about the security. I don't know if we have that in our code. So I think it's becoming a norm, which is exciting. And I think that will overall protect humanity, which is exciting. I'm optimistic.
Awesome. So tell us some of the ways you give back to your community.
Well,
you mentioned teaching.
Yeah, so I'm on a few boards in a few universities that I try to help them teach what they should be teaching, because it is hard to go. And colleges, they just got to figure it out for cybersecurity, because it burns so fast, right? Even the books. I've been to two large universities in the state of Oklahoma. Is that's cool that you're doing what you're doing, and I help facilitate what programs they should be teaching. I said the last one, I said it needs to be what is actually happening. It's like a full year class of like new codes, like Chat GPT. We're going to talk about that, and that's one of their last classes to graduate, because they're going to be blindsided when they get into like the real world and actually have a job. They're not going to know what that stuff is. And also we do like little security tours around even North Texas and Oklahoma, and we're also working with a few in Virginia that I'm supplying my engineers to do like a speaking engagement with some sponsors. And any of the funds that that is over the payment, like, we pay for their lunch and all that stuff, anything we have left, we give to the college, because I asked this maybe 6 years ago. I said, how come the kids aren't getting certifications? They go through the class, they don't have money. And I was like, well, that's terrible. So we started doing that. So we're using that money to fund those students if they want to go get their, Net Plus, Security Plus, whatever the class is for, just to kind of give them. I don't want them to go through the class and not take certification, depending on how you feel about that. But I just think it'd be a nice little thing to get them started and give them some confidence. So,
what would be like one career tip you would give to somebody that's just graduated from a cybersecurity degree?
Well, I would expand on that, maybe without even the degree. I'll say, if you want to get in cybersecurity and be like, because I know cybersecurity is like cool. Like, I was like, oh man, I want to be a pen tester, hacker man, right? You can't unbeat passion. Degrees, whatever. I have a degree, which is funny. I got it in when I was 34. And it was the quickest degree. It was organizational leadership. Has nothing to do with IT. I have no career, I have no education in IT traditionally. It's kind of weird. So if you have passion and it's something you do for fun, I know this is like what everyone says, do something you like and you'll never have to work again. but in cybersecurity, it's so vast, and cybersecurity has honestly exploded, because you have pen testing, you have incident response, you have forensics, you have vulnerability assessment, you have so many. It's exploded. But if you're a passionate person and you love it, there's so much content out there. You can be as big as you want to be. So don't ever let anything or anyone slow you down, because even, me, when I started, we didn't have the Google or whatever you use.
Yeah.
You just had to figure out on your own. YouTube is so full of that stuff, and you can learn as much as you want to. And it's really your success is in your hands.
Would you say that same piece of advice to maybe a mid-level cybersecurity person, or a different piece of advice?
Yeah, no, I think for a mid-level person is, I think they can learn more by teaching others. They'll learn more because they'll want to discover more, and it is hard once you get into a company that you can get a little, I'll call the word comfortable. I got a good job, I'm here, I know what I'm doing, but cybersecurity moves too fast for that, and especially IT and cybersecurity. Recognize that you're in a fast-paced environment, and it can change tomorrow. I even go back as far as I was talking to a buddy actually a few days ago, and this is more history of how my age is. Remember when everyone had Blackberries?
Yes.
Right? The Pearls,
Yes.
They were super cool. I loved it.
Yes.
Got to play games. It was amazing. And then all of a sudden, all the Bez servers collapsed, and servers went down in North America, and then everyone DDoSed Asia. And then Bez, you couldn't even use your phone, which made all the executives' heads explode, because iPhones were for playing games, and they're kid toys, right? And as soon as that happened, it's iPhone City, and that's when the corporate America started incorporating that. Same thing with the WannaCry. No one really ransomware kind of. That's when people really started waking up. Oh my gosh, this is really serious. They want millions of dollars, right? So recognize the industry can always change tomorrow.
Yeah.
ChatGPT, I would say that was the next thing. People are losing their minds. Honestly, I have some stuff, I'm like, hey man, how would you define this? And the robot's like this. I'm like, that's beautiful. I might use some of that.
As long as you think it's a robot and you don't think it's hallucinating.
Yes. It's
the words we use are so dangerous.
Yes, I always say a robot and then refuse to acknowledge it's a robot, but that's okay. That's between me and ChatGPT. We go back and forth. We have our time. But so just recognize that it can change, and once it does, don't be afraid to get into it, because it'll typically take off. I go back, Bitcoin. Bitcoin was another, everyone's like, oh, what is this? I don't really know. Dip your toes in it, check it out, and just kind of see how it plays, because typically new things that kind of come into the market that seem to be shaky, because you can kind of tell it's a little shaky.
Yeah.
People are a little worried about it. Bitcoin, people are a little worried about it. Ransomware, they were a little worried about it. Once you feel that, that's where you really need to start leaning in and learn a lot, because you can help with that. Even I would throw in another cloud when everyone was going to the cloud. It took a little while for people to bite into that, but if you don't have a cloud security infrastructure at this point, you have uploaded it to the internet. And that's just something to think about. People don't, again, go back to exposing yourself, and mid-level, there's a full career.
Got it. So Donovan, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? What do you want to be remembered for by your peers?
Man, that's a good question. Let's see here. Remembered. I would like to say that I had fun in cybersecurity, and I was always open to give back. I always like to give people chances and let them make their own history. Donovan was a great guy. He gave me an opportunity, and he didn't have to. It's about the passion thing. With us, people don't have to have degrees or certifications. We even hired a kid out of high school. Just give people opportunity that they wouldn't normally get, I'm not trying to say the world's unfair, but it kind of is. And if I can do a little bit of, kind of help the playing field just a little bit from the gifts that I've been given, I hope that they can use that, and what I've instilled in them, they can give to somebody else, so we can kind of make, do a little bit of ripple effect, at least.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Donovan.
You're welcome.
Thank you to all of you tuning in and listening. And if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for the Tech Legacies video podcast. And for those of you listening on podcast platforms, please make sure you subscribe and share your feedback with us. So thank you for tuning in to Tech Legacies video podcast. And thank you, Donovan, for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
At Tech Legacies, we're all about helping technology professionals grow and succeed in their careers by sharing the advice of top technology executives. If you're looking to take your career to the next level and become a technology executive yourself, we have an exciting program to tell you about. It's called the Tech CXO Excellence Program by Tech CXO Launchpad, and they are our partners. They're offering an immersive, multimodal program developed and taught by current and former CIOs and CTOs who are passionate about building the next generation of C-suite technology executives. And you'll experience a full immersion into the C-suite world and also get to collaborate, network, and experience capstone-style projects with other professionals. And this is all while benefiting from face-to-face interactions in person with industry guest speakers. It is exclusively for a new level of C-suite executives and C-level direct reports and second directs who are earmarked for succession planning and career growth. To join their waitlist, register your interests at www.techcxolaunchpad.com. That's techcxolaunchpad.com. This program has everything you need to take your career to the next level.